She was 21 years old. She led 12,000 workers in the largest strike San Antonio had ever seen in its history. And one night, she had to run for her life through a secret tunnel while 10,000 people screamed for her blood outside. The KKK was in that crowd. So were veterans groups and church organizations. They came to silence her. They came to stop her. Her name was Emma Tenayuca. Chances are you have never heard of her. This is her story. This is how she changed everything. Emma Beatrice Tenayuca was born December 21st, 1916, in San Antonio, Texas. Her family was poor but proud. Her father was of Spanish descent. Her mother was Native American and Spanish. But it was her grandparents who truly raised her. They raised her with stories of revolution, of workers' rights, of fighting back. Her grandfather had fought in the Mexican Revolution. He taught young Emma that ordinary people could change history if they were brave enough. She believed every single word he said. Growing up, Emma spent time at Plaza del Zacate, the heart of San Antonio West Side. There she saw Mexican-American reality. In the 1930s, San Antonio had the highest infant death rate of any major American city. Babies died every single day. It also had the highest tuberculosis death rate in the nation. People coughed blood in the streets. The city did nothing about it. Mexican Americans made up 1/3 of the population, but they had almost no political power, no voice, no representation at all. They worked in pecan shelling factories, over 400 of them scattered across the city. San Antonio produced half of America's pecans. The conditions inside were brutal. No ventilation anywhere. Pecan dust filled the air constantly. Workers developed lung disease rapidly. And the pay? $2 to $3 per week. Some workers made less than $1. For 60 hours of back-breaking work each week, Emma saw all of this. She witnessed it every day. And at 16 years old, she decided she would do something about it finally. In 1933, cigar workers at the Fink Cigar Company went on strike. Emma showed up, not as a worker, but a supporter. She was arrested on the picket line that day, her first arrest ever. She was 16 years old. It would not be her last arrest. Years later, she would say, quote, "I never thought in terms of fear. I thought in terms of justice," end quote. That defined her life. After high school, Emma threw herself completely into labor organizing. She joined the Workers' Alliance in 1936. By 1937, she had joined the Communist Party. Now, before you judge her, you need to understand the context of that era. This was the Great Depression. Workers were desperate everywhere. The Communist Party was one of few organizations fighting for them. Unlike many unions at the time, the Communist Party did not discriminate. They organized black workers, Mexican workers, women, everyone. That same year, Emma married Homer Brooks. He was the chairman of the Communist Party in Texas. She was 20 years old at the time. Then came January 1938. The pecan factory owners announced a wage cut from 6 cents per pound down to 5 cents. For workers already starving, this was the final insult. On January 31st, workers at one factory walked out in protest. Within days, the strike spread like wildfire across the city. 12,000 workers, 400 factories, all of them stopped work. It was the largest strike in San Antonio history. The workers needed a leader to speak for them. They chose Emma Tenayuca for that. She was 21 years old. Most of the strikers were women, Mexican-American women, just like her. They trusted her completely. The city responded with brutal force. Police arrested strikers by the hundreds. They used tear gas on peaceful protesters constantly. They beat workers in the streets, but the strikers kept coming back every single day. They refused to give up no matter what happened. Emma herself was arrested multiple times during the strike. Each time, she went right back to the picket line the very next day. The newspapers gave her a nickname. They called her La Pasionaria, the Passionate One. The name stuck with her for life after that. In her speeches, she did not just talk about wages. She talked about dignity, about human rights, about justice for all workers. She said, quote, "What started as equal wages turned into a mass movement against starvation, for civil rights and minimum wage," end quote. The strike made national headlines across America. Time magazine put it on their cover. Suddenly, everyone was watching San Antonio closely. The factory owners tried everything to break them. They brought in strike breakers. They spread propaganda everywhere about communists. They called Emma a communist agitator trying to destroy America. And technically, she was a communist. But that missed the whole point. The communist label was used to dismiss everything she fought for. It did not matter that families were actually starving to death. It did not matter that children were dying of tuberculosis. Communist meant ignore her. That was the strategy they used against Emma. But Emma refused to be ignored by anyone. After 37 days of striking, the walkout finally ended. The workers had won. They got a wage increase from 5 or 6 cents to 7 or 8 cents per pound. It was not much, but it was a real victory. More importantly, the strike helped push Congress to pass the Fair Labor Standards Act later that year. The first federal minimum wage. Emma Tenayuca, at 21, had helped change American labor law forever. But her greatest challenge was still waiting ahead for her. In 1939, Emma was elected chairman of the Communist Party in Texas. She was 22 years old at the time of this. And that is exactly when everything fell apart around her. August 1939. Europe was on the brink of war at that time. Stalin had just signed a non-aggression pact with Hitler himself. Anti-communist hysteria was reaching a fever pitch across America. In San Antonio, the Communist Party announced a meeting at the Municipal Auditorium August 25th. Emma Tenayuca would speak. The backlash was immediate and severe. The Catholic Archbishop called communism, quote, "an awful Asiatic plague," end quote, that same week. He urged all Catholics to oppose the meeting by any means necessary. Veterans groups announced they would protest it outside the venue. The Ku Klux Klan said they would be there too. Local businesses threatened anyone who dared to attend the communist meeting that night. The city demanded the meeting be canceled immediately. Mayor Maury Maverick refused their demands. He believed in free speech for all. He said free speech means free speech for everyone. Even communists deserve that right. His decision would cost him his entire career. By afternoon of August 25th, crowds were already gathering outside the auditorium, not to listen, but to stop the meeting. Police estimated 5,000 people at first, then more kept coming. By evening, the crowd had swelled to an estimated 10,000. Inside the auditorium, only 100 people had shown up for the meeting. Among them was Emma Tenayuca, ready to speak that night. The meeting began. Almost immediately, the mob outside started throwing rocks, bricks, anything they could find to hurl at the building. Windows shattered everywhere. Glass rained down on the people inside. The noise was deafening, screaming, chanting, and breaking glass. The mob was not just angry. They were organized and prepared. They brought rotten eggs, vegetables, rocks collected well in advance. Outside, they hung Mayor Maverick in effigy. They set it on fire. The message was clear: defend communists, and they would come for you. Police tried to hold the line outside, but 10,000 people against a few dozen officers, they were completely overwhelmed quickly. The mob pushed toward the doors relentlessly. They wanted to get inside the building. They wanted Emma Tenayuca. They wanted her badly. Inside, Emma and the others were trapped completely. Going out the front door meant walking directly into a mob that wanted them dead. But the municipal auditorium had a secret, a tunnel, built beneath the building itself, connecting to a nearby structure underground. Police led Emma and some others through that dark tunnel, in complete darkness, while above them, thousands screamed for their blood. She escaped that night, but not everyone was so lucky. Several attendees were beaten badly by the mob. 16 people were injured. The riot lasted for hours before ending. Police eventually used tear gas to disperse the crowd, but the damage was already done. The next day, newspapers across the country reported the story. The New York Times ran a headline about the San Antonio riot incident. But here is what is important to understand about that night. This was not just about communism. It was about race and class hatred. Historian Julia Blackwelder wrote, "The violence reflected not only anti-communism but basic antagonism toward poorest Hispanic workers." They were not just attacking communists that night, they were attacking Mexicans, the poor, anyone who challenged the existing order. Emma Tenayuca became the symbol of everything those people hated, a Mexican-American woman who dared to stand up and fight against them. The day after the riot, the FBI opened a file on Emma Tenayuca. That file would eventually grow to 181 total pages. They watched her for 29 years after that, until 1968, for the crime of standing up for basic workers' rights. Mayor Maverick lost the next election badly. His political career was completely destroyed, all because he defended free speech rights. And Emma started receiving death threats after that night, serious ones. Threats that made her genuinely fear for her very own life. She was blacklisted everywhere in the city. No one would hire her for any job. Her own community was too afraid to associate with her. So Emma Tenayuca did something she never thought she would have to do in her life. She ran away from everything she knew and loved. Emma fled to Houston first, then to California. She used a different name there, Beatrice Giraud, her middle and her mother maiden name. Think about that for a moment. A woman who had just led 12,000 workers was now hiding under a completely fake assumed name. Her marriage to Homer Brooks fell apart in the early 1940s. They divorced. Emma was completely alone in the world after that. In 1946, Emma made another decision that defined the rest of her life. She left the Communist Party permanently forever. She was disillusioned with the party direction at that point. She disagreed with many decisions. She was done being defined by labels. Emma went to college and earned her bachelor degree from San Francisco State in 1952. Then she earned a master's degree. She had a son named Francisco in 1952. She raised him quietly and away from politics, away from the spotlight entirely. For nearly 30 years, Emma Tenayuca lived in complete obscurity. The woman who had made national headlines was completely forgotten. Then, in the late 1960s, something changed everything. The Chicano movement was rising across America and demanding their history. And they found Emma Tenayuca. She moved back to San Antonio quietly. She became a teacher in the Harlandale School District after that. She taught bilingual education until 1982. Most of her students had no idea who she was or what she had accomplished before. They did not know their teacher had once changed history itself. But slowly, recognition finally came to her after all those long years. Historians began writing about her contributions. Scholars interviewed her on record. Her story was finally being rediscovered at last. In 1987, she gave an oral history interview. She was 70 years old. She said, quote, "I would do the same thing again." In 1991, Emma was inducted into the San Antonio Women Hall of Fame. Finally, after decades of being forgotten, Recognition. On July 23, 1999, Emma Tenayuca passed away. She was 82 years old. La Pasionaria was finally gone. But that was not the end of her story. In 2011, the Texas Historical Commission placed a marker at the Municipal Auditorium. In 2023, San Antonio named a street after her, Emma Tenayuca Memorial Way. 84 years after the riot that night, today there is a children's book about her called That Is Not Fair, teaching young kids about her courage and her fight for justice. But here is what still bothers me about her story. Most people still do not know her name. Her story is not taught in most schools. Emma Tenayuca was 21 when she led 12,000 workers. She proved one person, even without power, can change history forever. Quote, "I never thought in terms of fear. I thought in terms of justice," end quote. Her name was Emma Tenayuca. Now you know her story.